Hello and good morning, everyone. We are doing our first webinar of the new year today, and I'm very excited already. I hope you are as well. We will just give people one more minute to join. In the meantime, why don't you text where you're joining us from today, what the weather is like? Personally, I am in Luxembourg today, and it is surprisingly sunny for a January day. So it is looking to be great. I am very excited. Oh, we got somebody from Athens. Hello, good morning. Very nice to see that people are joining us from loads of places in the EU and outside the EU as well. We have Oslo. Very nice. Milan. Oh, Frankfurt, Seville. Oh, there's so many of you. That's amazing. Very exciting. I will just give you maybe 10 more seconds because we have a very tight agenda for today. There's a lot we want to tell you about. So we will get started very, very soon. We got Copenhagen. Nice. The weather sounds not as nice. All right. I think it is time to get started now. It is so nice to see everyone back and serious about what I'm sure has been your most important New Year's resolution to learn more about open data. And today is a great topic to start or continue doing that because it is the backed by popular demand, our highly anticipated sequel to the Smart Cities series. A smart city is a city where technologies like artificial intelligence are used together with open data to support local decision making. A commonly used tool in this is a digital twin, which is kind of what it says on the box, a digital copy of the city, which is created with large amounts of data. With its help, you can then run models and watch hypothetical scenarios play out. But how this works in practice and some more technical details is something we will discuss in today's webinar. So the spotlight will be on Bologna to see how this great example of a smart city improves the quality of life of its residents in the face of challenges like climate change and urban mobility. So to learn from their impressive example, we have invited two guests today to tell us all about their digital twin. But before I further introduce them, let's do some quick housekeeping. As always, our webinar will be recorded and published on the data.europa Academy afterwards. It will also be, you can also view it on YouTube, and we will, of course, share the slides and the link to the recording with you a few days after the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentations, we highly encourage this. Please just use the Click Meeting chat, and there will be a Q&A at the end where we will ask as many of your questions as possible. And then lastly, we would really appreciate if you could reserve just 1 or 2 minutes at the end of the webinar to fill out our feedback survey. We really take this into account and it helps us a lot when planning our new webinars. Let's move on to today's speakers. I am Hannah Croker. I work at the European Data Portal, which is part of the Publications Office of the European Union. And today we have invited two guests. The first is Stefania Paolazzi. She's an innovation manager at the Comune di Bologna. She specializes in public sector innovation and is currently working on the implementation of the Bologna Civic Digital Twin and the municipality's artificial intelligence adoption pathway. Her background is in political science and European studies, and she also holds a master's degree in smart communities design and management. And then we have a second guest, which is Marco Pistore. He is a lead researcher at the Fondazione Bruno Kessler, specifically in the unit Modeling and Simulation of Socio-Technical Systems. He also has a PhD in computer science and roughly 30 years of experience in various research fields, including artificial intelligence, software engineering, and software architectures. So as you can see, we are in very capable hands today. And now, finally, before we get started, let's just take a very brief look at the agenda. So first, in a second, I will pass on the word to Stefania, who will give us an introduction and some of the context about Bologna's Civic Digital Twin, before Marco will delve deeper into some of the technical details and also present some use cases in detail. Finally, we will have the Q&A session, as I've mentioned before, so don't be shy to post your questions in the chat. We are very excited to see what you want to know more about, and I will ask whatever I can at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. Stefania, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Good morning, everybody. Hannah already introduced me, so I go directly through the presentation, Bologna Digital Twin, Enhancing the Public Value of Data. This is a short agenda. I will introduce the project and the context and the strategic vision behind him. And after me, my colleague Marco Pistore will go through some key aspects of the project that we are developing, and then I will come back just to some last remarks. Before entering in describing the project, I would like to give you some facts about Bologna that can help you in understanding better where we are and what we are doing. So Bologna is a city of about 1 million inhabitants in its metropolitan area. And in its history, it's always been rooted into the knowledge economy since we host the oldest university in the Western world, that is the University of Bologna. In the last years, this trend of knowledge economy and the importance of it started to grow again, thanks to a lot of investment that were located in our cities. In particular, we are hosting now the second most powerful supercomputer called Leonardo, and we are hosting also a big data technopole at the center of the Italian data valley. Behind this specific of our cities, Bologna is a city, as many others, that is facing a lot of challenges in the economic, social, and environmental sector. And the city is decided to face these challenges through data-driven and inclusive urban governance. To respond to this increasing complexity that we are facing, the municipality has identified 3 strategic assets to strengthen our urban resilience. The first one is urban data and evidences that we are gathering from the city and that can support informed policymaking. The second asset is advanced digital technologies, including machine learning and artificial intelligence, that are provided in our cities, but also outside from it, and that are growing a lot in these years, as many of you can see. And the third asset is social capital, knowledge, and expertise that the city is used to mobilize through active involvement of urban stakeholders and citizens in all the policy cycle design. Starting from these premises, the municipality of Bologna launched in 2024 the Bologna Digital Twin project and strategy that aims to build a new technological infrastructure serving the entire city and not only the administration. The choice to develop a digital twin comes from the necessity to enhance the value of the amount of data that we already have in the public administration, but that we also see that a lot of other actors in the city have at their disposal. We would like to use this data more and more to support effective decision-making in the city and not just keep the data in our offices, and trying also to better understand which data are relevant and how can we use them to sustain policy design. So the digital twin will enable us to analyze, correlate, and visualize data better. It will also serve to monitor the evolution of our public policies and the effects of external events that the city is experimenting. But the most important functions that a digital twin can offer us is the possibility to build scenario and simulate how decisions evolve in the city. And last but not least, we would like to have a digital twin that can help us also in innovating the way through which we involve citizens in urban planning and in taking decisions. When we had to design this project, we were really aware of the fact that the urban digital twin are often inspired by industrial twins. And this is important for capturing the physical aspect of a city, but we also know that a city is not a machine or is not an industrial plant. So cities are ecosystems, they constantly change, citizens are not passive users, and citizens can also take decisions daily to shape the city and the policies and their effects. So what we are trying to do is to move from a classical geometric and physical digital twin to what we call the civic digital twin. Civic urban digital twin focus on the aspects of I mentioned before and aim to represent people behaviors and social dynamics. They try to analyze and simulate decisions and events in the city, and also try to make them understandable also to non-expert people in the city. And digital civic urban digital twin allows citizens and urban stakeholders engagement. So what we are doing is not forgetting the importance of the geometric and physical part of a digital twin that is of paramount importance for modeling of buildings and infrastructure, and making us understanding better energy modeling, the integration on climate and environmental data calculation. But we are also trying to do something more, a step forward, that is trying to modeling the social dynamic of a city, the transformation processes that can help citizens to change attitudes towards the policies that the municipalities develops. And we also try to use our digital twin as an engagement tool, both trying to using data collected through civic engagement and public consultation, but also trying to use this tool as a collaborative space to imagine the city together and to see how it can change immediately under our eyes. How do we work? As I was mentioning before, Bologna had already a good network of stakeholders that can help in this ambitious mission. So we decided to create, starting from strategic partnership instead of starting from the market. And so we decided to create a partnership with 4 important bodies that are Fondazione Bruno Kessler, which is represented here by Marco, and that is the technical manager of the project. We involved the University of Bologna as the research and scientific manager of the project. Cineca, that is the technical partner of the project, and Fondazione EU Rusconi Ghigi, that is a foundation founded by the municipality that works with citizens and tries to engage them into the public policies of the city. We were also lucky to have the partnership and the support of the National Center for High-Performing Computer, Big Data and Quantum Computers, that is a national research center and innovation center that is developing a distributed high-performing infrastructure combined with gathering together expertise from research field and industrial field, and that is helping us in advancing in our research and also in our mission of disseminating and exploiting the result of our work. Behind this first partnership, we are open to other possible future collaboration, and in this moment we already started 3 new collaborations with CRIF, AROP, and the University of Virginia that are bringing to the project some specific expertise and are helping us in some specifics and verticals of the project. Another important element of our approach is that we are trying to work with an incremental approach to innovation. So we designed 3 cycles of analysis, research and development, and evaluation. And we are going through these cycles, investigating open questions, increasing our partnership and collaboration networks, and also addressing well-defined and codified problems, but also pushing always more to understanding better complex challenges and address them. After these 3 first cycles, we imagine to start the transition and the technology stabilization of our project, and also the scaling process. Using this approach is important for us because it allows us to start working on the development of the digital twin, using some use cases as a place in which we can develop technologies, but also processes and methodologies that can help in the long run for the developing of the digital twin, and that are helping us in delivering some first results while the technology is still growing and improving in the years. We are working on three first use cases. The first one is related to mobility, and Marco will go deeper into explain it after me. But what we are trying to do here is to assess in advance the potential direct and indirect impacts of actions and policies related to sustainable mobility in the city of Bologna. And what we are trying to do here is modeling not only traffic and mobility dynamics, but we're trying to integrate in our analysis and in our modeling efforts also trends, people's behaviors, and social vulnerabilities to try and understand how a policy actually affects different populations in the city. The same approach of mobility we are using also on the heat waves case study, in which we are trying to study the impacts of heat waves on the city and its residents, and to assess the effects of potential mitigation and adaptation measures in action. What we're trying to do here is to model what we call the measured city, so what we can already know from the data, but also integrating these first models with the lived city that is related to how citizens really live during heat waves, how they go to work, how they manage their life at home, and what are their necessities. Last but not least, we are trying to mix these two dimensions and try to understand a potential future city or potential future scenarios in which adaptation and mitigation measures are in actions, and citizens can also contribute to the mitigation and adaptation of the city to heat waves. Last but not least, we are starting a use case on the historical city center in the next years. The city center of Bologna will be the object of an important and complex regeneration strategy. And we really think that here the digital twin can offer tools and support to co-design action to improve the livability of the historic city center, and it can also be helpful in involving citizens in defining these actions immediately. It is a multi-level and multi-sectoral strategy that brings together the objective of preserving the urban historic fabric, but also to upgrade public space and enhancing the dimension of proximity and strengthening resilience and adaptation to climate change. So the challenge for us here is to use the digital twin not only for a specific vertical, but try to mix different policy domains. With this, I have finished. As I was saying before, I will hand over to my colleague Marco Pistore, and I will come back for some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania, and thank you all for attending the webinar. So my responsibility here is to, well, describe you with a little bit more of details, some key aspects or key assets that we are developing in the project. The first one is the technical platform that we are developing to support all what Stefania presented you. Our key idea was not to develop a vertical platform, a vertical solution specific for digital twins, but rather to be the horizontal technical platform that provides all the enablers that are needed to develop well, analysis and simulation solutions that we need for digital twins, but also to support other kinds of analysis, for instance, for urban intelligence or for AI applications. So the technical platform we developed, of course, manages data, so collection, management, and sharing of data. It also provides a computational environment for AI techniques, but also for model-based and simulation-based techniques. It supports decision-making scenarios. Well, simplifying it a lot, decision-making process is about having a problem, having different possible solutions for these problems, analyzing and comparing them, picking one, and then analyzing and monitoring how things evolve after we started deploying or enacting the solution that has been selected. So all this process has to be managed by the platform. The platform supports visualization. Of course, it has to be secure. It has to be interoperable. But most importantly, and most specifically, it has to support the traceability and accountability. So if we take a decision based on the platform, and this decision turns out to be weak or wrong or of low quality in the future, then we want to go back and see why this happened. So which input data we used, which algorithms we used, and with which parameters, which output data have been generated, and how we used this output data to take the decision. So it is important to be able to go back and check what went wrong. Stefania showed you that the digital twin is this incremental, iterative process, and going back and looking to what went wrong previously and improving it is part of this incremental process. So you see here, graphical representation of the platform. You don't need to understand it. The bottom line is that the platform is open source. It is cloud native. I already mentioned that it is secure, of course. It is multi-tenant. That is, we are able to run different users and different projects in isolation within the platform, and it is open to extensions. The key message I wanted to underline here is that from the very beginning, we wanted to avoid lock-in scenarios. So we adopted open source solutions already available for different layers, for data management, for service orchestration, for data exposure and visualization, and so on and so forth. Open source tools is a huge and a very important resource, but a very important decision has been to keep the architecture, the design of the platform within the team, within the project team, and also to equip the project team with enough development capability to address situations that happen in the open source world. During the project, we had tools, open source tools that were very robust, but that went dismissed, or open source tools that moved towards a freemium approach, and then the community part was shrinking down. And having the possibility to replace these tools, or even to implement a solution, a ad hoc solution to replace an open source tool that was not good enough, has shown to be a real asset for the project. Now, the platform supports data analysis and exploration using data platform like Dremio, specific data analysis tools, and specific tools also for quality metrics, and so on and so forth. The platform supports exploratory, interactive software development. AI engineers, data scientists use notebooks as a key tool nowadays. So the platform supports this way of exploring data and of exploring different, machine learning approaches and models. But the platform also allows to translate these notebooks into robust analysis and simulation workflows that run in the cloud environment that is equipped with all the enablers to monitor how these workflows are executed and evolve. For instance, on the side of resource management, are we dedicating enough resources to these workflows? And also, I mentioned before the problem of traceability and accountability. So we need to manage the lineage. That is, we need to track across the execution of these workflows which data are consumed by which algorithms and which data are produced by which algorithms, so that we can track data and code usage from the very beginning to the very end of these workflows. And finally, of course, we need to produce visualizations of the analysis we do. We need to share data, also output data, and we need to be able to build services and vertical applications on the top of what the platform is offering. So all of this is supported by the platform through suitable technical enablers. Now we have the platform. The platform is initially empty. The next step is to get the data that are necessary. So the platform is the engine, the data are the gasoline for digital twins. And also in this case, we took a broader perspective, a broader point of view in managing data. In particular, we are working to develop an overarching data governance approach for the municipality of Bologna. So the point here is that the municipalities like Bologna really need new data management tools and processes, not just for digital twins, but also for AI and other disruptive technologies, since these technologies requires more and more continuous and cross-domain data usage. So the municipality needs more flexible governance processes and tools. Also, open data are very important, but they are not enough, let me say. Bologna is one of the Italian cities which invested more on open data. But now, if we look to modeling and analyzing a city, then we see that not all the data are owned by the municipality and not all the data are open. So we really need to define an urban data ecosystem participated by different public and private bodies and by research that is based on data sharing, but this data sharing is not limited to open data. We also have to build an ecosystem that allows sharing profiled purpose-bound data. So it is important that sharing is not only limited to open data. And to do all of this, we need rules. From our point of view, the data governance provides the rule book for managing and growing this urban data ecosystem participated by public and private bodies. Data governance requires, of course, the definition of tools and technologies, of processes, of roles, both standard ones, data catalog, and innovative ones. The last technology I mentioned here is data fairness. We have to make it sure that we understand any bias we have in the data if we want to use this data set to take decisions, to take robust decisions. In processes, we need to reason in particular on the data democratization issue and data sharing. Of course, open data is an important tool for data democratization since it offers data to all possible users. We need to learn how to do it also with the data that cannot be distributed as open data. And we have roles. In particular, we are investing in the steward models, where we have stewards that help data owners to extract the value of the data they have. So we are defining the different roles and rules in the municipality to extract value from data. So this is a picture of the framework we are developing. In the center of it, you see the digital twin. In particular, the digital twin provides the data lake, the data repository for Bologna, and data are ingested, available data are ingested and stored in this data lake. Well, in the case of Municipality of Bologna, we are taking data from existing databases and IT systems, from APIs, but also from the many files, Excel files, that contain invaluable data assets in the different departments of the city. We also really need to bring this data, this treasure of data into the data lake. This is true for the Municipality of Bologna, but also for third parties in the urban data ecosystem I was mentioning before. Now, the data we have in the data lake can be published as open data. I already mentioned that profile data need to be shared through a marketplace we are designing. And they are the basis for the services, for the analysis, simulation, prediction services that are at the core of the digital twin. Well, here you see that the tool for the data lake, we are currently using a Minio. Minio is an example of a tool, of an open source tool that went freemium, where the number of features were reduced incrementally from the community edition, and now it is in maintenance mode. So this is a tool that somehow had this phenomenon I was mentioning before of open source tools that need to be replaced, possibly replaced in an evolution of the platform. Now, we have the platform, we have the rules, the rule book to bring data sets in the digital twin. The next step is to address a specific urban challenge by defining suitable models and algorithms. Well, instead of explaining you the process in general and draw other boxes and wires, I prefer to explain this with an example and the demo, actually. And the example is based on the mobility use case Stefania introduced before. So mobility, as Stefania mentioned, mobility for us is traffic, it is emissions. Well, Bologna is actually in one of the most polluted areas in Europe, so traffic-related emissions is indeed an important problem, and also social fragilities. That is, that there is a right to mobility, but this right cannot be exercised in the same way by all social groups. There are vulnerable groups that have an unequal, a limited access to mobility possibilities, and this has to be analyzed and understood to a good extent, in particular if we want our digital twin to be civic. So we need to analyze all of this in the current as-is scenario for the city, but we also need to be able to do this analysis in what-if scenarios, in hypothetical scenarios, depending on changes in the mobility in the city. For instance, since a local authority or a national authority is imposing new rules for the circulation, private vehicle circulation in the city. I don't know, some Euro 3, Euro 4 vehicles are not able to circulate or can circulate only with limits. The data we are using are, of course, transport-related data, that is road network, origin, destination data, that is the needs of mobility from a given zone to a different zone of the city. We have data of traffic from sensors in the roads. We have urban mobility plans that also provide important data. But we also, in Bologna, we are very lucky since we have many data sets that are related to social or citizens' habits and behaviors. We have, for instance, an important survey on commuting, on homework mobility, that collects not only the current commuting transportation mean, but it also captures the propensity of citizens to change, to switch to more sustainable mobility means, and also to adopt smart working approaches which reduces the mobility need. And then we have data on social, economic, and demographic fragilities of the different areas of the city, which is indeed a very important input for our civic digital twin. So we are able to build on a very rich data set in this domain. Now, what if scenario, we start from a given hypothesis on a possible regulation for mobility in the city, and we use this for this regulation. We see how the traffic is changed, how the emissions are changed, and how the fragilities are improved or made worse by this new regulation. Of course, knowing the regulation is not enough. We need also to understand how people react to this regulation, if they are endorsing it or if they exhibit a rigid behavior that somehow limits the impact of the new regulation. And of course, we also need to be able to measure the effort that the fragile social groups have to take to compensate the new limits of the new regulations. So for us, Digital Twin allows us to measure the as-is scenario, to analyze the as-is scenario, and to simulate different what-if scenarios depending on the regulations. But now, to illustrate this better, I try and move to the demo. Let's hope this works. So it will be very short, but just to give you an idea how we do it. So what you see here is the Digital Twin Studio. That is the design tool that we developed to investigate, well, in this case, urban mobility scenario. It is built on top of the platform you have seen before. So what you see here is the as-is situation, so the traffic of a typical working day in Bologna, across, well, along the day. So in the different hours, you see that in the central part of the day, the traffic, the number of cars is higher. Also the inflow, the cars entering the inner city is higher in the central time, the central daytime, and of course also the emissions are higher. So that's the current scenario. What this tool allows us to do is to simulate different policies, different possible variations of what is happening in Bologna. For instance, in this specific case, we assume that during the day, from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., some cars, I don't know, Euro 3 cars, cannot enter the city anymore due to national regulation. Of course, this has impacts on the traffic. When this limiting regulation is active, you see that the traffic is decreasing, and also the inflow is decreasing. But you see this strange phenomenon. Some people decided to bring forward or to postpone the travel. So while the traffic, the inflow in the central part of the day is lower, before and after this regulation is active, we see as a small increase in this number of in this traffic. Now, this depends, of course, on the timing of the policy. So if we change, I don't know, the end time, we see that the behavior is different. On other parameters, like the exempted vehicles, if we increase the percentage of exempted vehicles, then of course the impact is different. But also on behavioral, well, let us move this to a more reasonable value. But also on behavioral parameters. For instance, people may be more or less reluctant to anticipate, to bring forward the trip. So if no people is willing to bring forward the trip, so we see that there is a drop at the beginning of the day in the traffic, but there is no increase. While if a high number of people are willing to bring forward the trip, then we see a very high, in this case, traffic in the initial part of the day. So 7 in the morning becomes the most crowded, the most jammed moment in the day. We are able also to compare different policies. I don't know the current scenario I implemented with the example policy. We can compare graphically the evolution, but we also have indicators on traffic, on how the difference between the baseline and the traffic evolves, on emissions, on modal shifts toward public transportations, and so on and so forth. So that's the tool that can help well, decision makers to compare different scenarios. Well, last concept, we also have a way of measuring the effort of vulnerable groups in the different zones of the city. And we can also measure this effort for different kinds of vulnerable citizens, in particular for vulnerable, for family-related vulnerabilities. So you see here that in this area of Bologna, I hope you see yes, you should see my pointer. coupled with children have a higher load to be able to move in the city than in other areas of the city. So this is an important information that is then completed with other information to assess the fragility of the system. So sorry, the demo was very short. I did not manage to cover everything, but I hope it gave you an idea of the approach we are following. That is the possibility to test and compare different scenarios using AI and simulation-based tools to, I don't know, well, fill the dots and predict how the city will behave in these scenarios. I want to use 1 second to discuss about urban fragilities, since this is key issue of the digital twin in Bologna. So the goal here, let me use this slide. The goal here is to identify and manage indirect discrimination. So discrimination that was not, of course, in the idea of the policymakers, and mobility gaps that are due to many different economic, demographic, or social conditions like gender, age, abilities, economic condition, and so on and so forth. So the idea is that we want to measure these fragilities. So we have indexes that are already defined by the city of Bologna that measure economic fragility, demographic fragility, and social fragility. Whenever we introduce a policy, we are affecting some parameters that are related to these indexes. For instance, if we think to economic fragility, then I don't know, the cost of the public transportation ticket is indeed an important issue. If we think of demographic fragility, for instance, the fact that the time dedicated to family caretaking is unfair depending on your specific family situation, then the time of the policy is more important. What is important is that I can freely move in the city when I have to go to my old parents, or I have to pick up my small kid. So time is an important issue here. With these parameters, we are able to update the fragility indexes depending on the what-if scenarios, so we can assess economic, demographic, and social fragility for hypothetical future scenarios of the mobility, in this case, in the city. So that's how, well, let me this. You have seen now the platform, the data governance solution, how we implement, well, some ideas of how models and algorithms are working in the digital twin. I want to spend the last minute covering the co-design methodology, which is the last asset I want to discuss here. Well, collecting requirements for a given digital twin solution, implementing the solution in the lab, and then bringing back the solution to the end users is not working. You have to work with the end users, both to better understand the problem and to make it sure the solution is effective in solving the problem at hand. So we are adopting a co-design methodology, which is inspired by the design thinking double diamond approach. This is a standard methodology for co-design. Their idea, they split the process in 2 parts. The first one focusing on the problem, and the second one focusing on the solution. And in both cases, they have this diamond approach where initially they diverge, they explore, they discover and discuss the problem, and then they converge. They come up with a problem definition, or they explore the possible solutions, and then they deliver one specific solution for the problem at hand. So this iterative approach and this alternation of explorative and convergent phases, I believe, is very nice also for the decision processes of a digital twin. But frankly, double diamond was not enough for this case, for Bologna, for digital twins. So we extended this methodology to a 5-step approach. So we have now 5 diamonds. Since this is necessary to cover all the process, of moving from a problem to the ultimate solution. But let me say that then if we adopt this methodology in practice, for instance, in the mobility use case you have seen before, things become even more involved, even more iterative, let me say. So for instance, we worked 1 year on the mobility use case you have seen before, and more I did not manage to show you. We did 14 co-design workshops with the end users, with the stakeholders, where we were moving back and forth across these 5 diamonds in our co-design methodology. So that's it. I believe the key message I wanted to deliver is that civic digital twin, urban digital twin needs to provide solutions to specific urban challenges, like the mobility one. But if you wanted to make this general solution for a city, you need to invest also a lot on different enablers, which are technical enablers in the platform. Rule books like data governance, and also methodologies to understand how to transfer all of these into the municipality, like the co-design methodology I have shown you. Now I believe I'll pass the microphone back to Stefania for the concluding remarks. And again, thank you all from my side for attending the seminar.
Marco, I will be super fast since I think we are running out of time, but I really wanted to give some perspective on what we are doing. We are currently developing this digital twin, and we are actually in our second cycle of research and development and implementation. So what we have shown you is something that we are still working on, and that we are trying to custom as much as we can to the necessities of the municipality, and try to have a tool that can support actual needs inside the administration. We currently can provide the municipality with an initial set of technological and procedural components that Marco already went through. And I will briefly go to the next step and 2026 priorities. We are trying to go on in the evolution of the civic digital twin model. So we want to extend the model, giving new tools, and also developing the public interface for the civic digital twin model. But in the same in parallel, we are going to develop more our interactive 3D city model that we really want to integrate with the civic digital twin model in order to have kind of a more complete and comprehensive digital twin model. Many steps has to be done also in data governance. As many of you probably know, when you start working on data governance, is an ongoing process that never finishes. So we are trying to make this process evolving, and our objective is to give always more consistency and always more sustainability to this data governance process inside the administration, and also to offer the data space and the digital twin as the data platform for the entire needs of the municipality. Another important point in which we will focus in 2026 is the development of indicators to assess equity in models and scenarios for vulnerable groups. As Marco said, for us and for the city of Bologna, thinking about technologies in terms of fairness and inclusion is of paramount importance, and we really want to stick in these objectives, even if it takes time, and probably it takes also a lot of efforts in our engagement strategies. Finally, we will try to work also on AI ethics and reliability. We will test our platform in a pre-sandbox for AI Act compliance. This is very challenging, but we are trying to stick also with this objective. And last but not least, the 2026 will be the year in which we will open the digital twin to external engagement and civic participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you both for this fascinating presentation. I think it is safe to say that we have all learned a lot, and there have been so many questions. I will ask as many as we can in the time that we have left, and we can stay perhaps a little bit late. But if questions remain unanswered, which is likely given how many there were, we will try and produce a report. So don't worry if we don't get to your question, you will still receive the answer. So with that being said, let's move into the Q&A right away. And I will start with a question for Stefania. Namely, one of our viewers has remarked that many cities are currently embarking on similar projects to you. Could you comment on the potential synergies that could be found by cooperating with them, and the potential transferability of your solutions to other cities? And then also as a follow-up question, have you taken inspiration from other smart cities in how they have this project working?
Thank you, Anna. So no city is an island, so for sure we have been looking around us before developing our digital twin, and we took inspiration from mainly European cities. Asiatic digital twins are super inspiring because they are like very spectacular, but we mainly focused on European solutions and European cities. Barcelona, Helsinki, and Munich, and many other cities that probably you also are looking to when you are developing these tools. But we really wanted to characterize the digital twin for the necessity of the city of Bologna, and also like following our identity. So this topic of moving towards civic digital twin for us was very important, and we are betting on this. And I really think that some of the kind of airy things that we are developing can be of inspiration for other cities. I don't really trust the copy-paste solutions, but I think that we can share methodologies, how we work. We are super happy to have a workshop with other cities, and also to share what we are doing in order to see how our methodologies and tools can fit with the specificity of other cities.
What a great approach. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now let's move on to a question for Marco. Namely, we have actually had quite a few questions on the API and standards that you used. Specifically, we've combined these questions as, when referring to data sharing, are you using a federated or centralized model? And which standard data models and API models are adopted by you?
Oh, well, a very technical question. For the moment, we are adopting a centralized approach in the sense that we are building a first node of a federated model to be. But for the moment, we only have a node, which is the one of the city of Bologna. As Stefania was mentioning, this year, 2026, is the year where we are investing in extending our network. So this will evolve into a federated node. Again, for standards, let me say standards are very important, but somehow we are trying to build something new here. So we are also there are many standards for data sharing, for data federation, and so on and so forth, in all the different layers. Let me just make an example. For exchanging data for interoperability, semantics is very important. Both Europe and Italy are investing in providing taxonomies and glossaries. But when we try to adopt it, for instance, for mobility, it turns out that they are not enough, that a piece is missing, that some important element for data interoperability or for data quality is missing. So I believe that also in this case, the approach we used for the architecture of the solution is better. That is, to have a task force, to have a group of people who can take dynamic solutions on which APIs, interfaces, standards are adopted for interoperability or exchange. I believe there are initiatives in Europe moving in these directions. For instance, for what concerns digital twins, there are the minimum interoperability standards somehow were proposed by the Open Agile, Smart Cities Association. There are other initiatives that are going in this direction. So our approach is to look to those standards, to stick to those standards whenever possible, but also to, well, take our own way whenever this makes sense to improve the feasibility. Take into account that the project in Bologna has to be an innovative project. We cannot innovate anything, and the standards are very useful somehow to give you the guardrails, but we need also to be able to jump outside these guardrails. Sorry, I did not give any detailed information. I can do it later on, as Anna was mentioning. Here I prefer to offer the approach instead of a specific answer.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And I think we can all tell from your two presentations and also responses to the questions that there's a big political and a big technical part at play. So our viewers have been wondering, how do these two domains, the political and technological, interact in the decision-making process? And where do you see potential conflicts or tensions, and where could be a trade-off? This is a question that perhaps both of you would like to say something on.
Yes, maybe I can start. I really think that what we are seeing and what we are experiencing is that working with this new technology needs also to introduce kind of different languages, different ways of understanding what we are doing, and different ways of interacting with a policy. Not always and not immediately it's easy to understand how a digital twin works and what the technological part requires. The political part is way more faster, way more immediate, works on urgencies, while modeling and producing a technology, as you can imagine, requires more time. So I really think that this kind of work of translation every time and trying to mediate the necessity of the politicians, the politics, and also policymakers with the necessities of the technical team, and also trying to make them understand that it's not easy just to say we want to use data to better understand how we can work, but using data and technologies to better policy making requires also a new way of working inside the public administration. This is crucial, and as I always say, the biggest challenge is not the technical part, but is the human side of the problem that requires more time to adapt, and that requires also new ways of working and new ways of management, and also trust in the people that you are working with, because you are asking a lot to them. You are asking them to change the way they always used to work, and they have to come with you if you want to have success in the implementation and also in the use of this technology.
I agree with what Stefania said. I'd like to, but anyhow, to provide the answer from a different point of view. To decide about the future of Bologna, I believe there are two steps. One is where the digital twin is data and AI are very helpful techniques. That is to understand better the problem at hand, okay, to understand the question. We wanted to analyze the city, we want to analyze the possible solutions, we wanted to understand the opportunities and risks. And actually, we want to be sure that we are discussing the very same thing. In many cases, many discussions are not on an objective fact, but on the fact that we are using, well, for instance, well, qualities in different ways. If I say this is too expensive, I may mean different things. This too expensive may mean the fact that I'm not interpreting the cost in the right way. So Hannah, you can say this is not too expensive, and actually the cost is the same, and maybe we also agree, but we are simply not able to discuss this since we are using generic terms instead of data and visualizations. So I believe the digital twin can help here. Set up a situation where we agree on what we can agree upon and agree to disagree on the rest. Then somebody has to take the decision. The decision is the responsibility of the decision makers, that in my opinion are not just the city, is not just the city governance, but are also the citizens. So we may decide to have a slower city or a faster city, a more inclusive city or a less inclusive city. I have my own opinions, but the digital twin has not to endorse my opinion. It has to provide different arguments. It has to spot out risks, in my opinion, and anyhow allow us to compare in a intuitive, graphical, and data supported way the different alternatives we have in mind. So separation of concern. Digital twin is about better understanding the question. Decision is about taking a decision given this improved knowledge.
Thank you. That is very interesting to hear from your different perspectives. Maybe we would just ask one or two more questions. Namely, have there been any concrete kind of results that you have seen so far from this project, and could you maybe outline some of the positive effects it has had?
We actually are not already in the possibilities to say that we have tested the specific policies and we already can see how the digital twin can enter and integrate completely with the policy-making cycle. We are still in a phase of startup of the project, so for seeing the results applied to policies, we require some time more. But what we can see is that in the years, we are enlarging the amount of departments and the amount of people that we are working with inside the public administration. We are creating more competencies inside, and we are creating kind of a constituency working with us. We can also see that stakeholders and citizens are very interested in the project, and we really think that 2026 will be the year in which we will test in specific occasions also with stakeholders the digital twin, and that can for sure lead us to see the results of policies supported by the digital twin.
I want to answer from the point of view of a researcher this time, okay? Usually, when you ask researchers to analyze a given problem, a typical answer, I'm just joking, okay? So don't take this too seriously. But the typical answer you get is, well, we don't have enough data. We need more data. Give us more data, or do more campaigns for acquiring new data, and so on and so forth. But what I saw in this project is that an increasing number of researchers were more focusing on exploiting all the rich number of data sets Bologna is offering than on asking new data. So I believe we reached the situation where we understand that if we want to solve some problems, we also have to learn how to better exploit the available data before asking for new ones. This also, I believe this is also an outcome of the data governance approach I mentioned before, and in particular that we need to bring together data that were managed by different departments before. So for an important change in Bologna is that the IT department and the statistics department are now together in the city of Bologna, and this simplifies sharing data. And if you think to it, the typical data in the IT department and the typical analysis of statistics offer complementary view of the city. Having them together, having them under the same umbrella, really facilitates the work of researchers of getting results from data. So this, I have to say, is an impressive result, which may seem trivial, but I don't see it in many public administrations. So this is an important result we achieved.
How great. So it is clear that there's a lot of exciting times ahead for your project. So with that, I think we are now concluding the session today. As I've said, we will try and answer the rest of the questions in a report. But for the meantime, we would just like to thank you so much. You have done such an amazing job sharing these secrets that make Bologna such a successful city. And thank you also to our audience for joining today and being so engaged with such an overwhelming amount of questions. I'm really, really happy about this. If you have any other remaining questions for our speakers, you can also ask these in our collaboration channel. So if you would like to ask anything else, or if you would like to share your own experience with a smart city, perhaps you can do this there. We will share the link for this after the webinar. And then I also get to announce some very exciting news about our academy. Namely, it has had a complete overhaul, and we have created a whole new learning experience for you, of course, all for free. You are now able to complete learning paths, which are step-by-step guided trainings about various open data topics. And after finishing them, you can even get a certificate or a badge that you can display on your LinkedIn or show to your employer. So please go ahead and check this out. We are looking forward to welcoming you at our next event as well, which will be a webinar on Earth observation. So I'm sure that will be very interesting as well. For the meantime, we would appreciate if you could fill out our feedback survey. Like we've said before, this is really helpful for us. We really take all of your feedback into account. So we always appreciate whatever you have to say. So overall, I would like to thank you for coming today and for joining this webinar. I hope it has been as great for you as it was for me. And we will see you soon.